All right, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Hey, it's basically 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and what a morning it's been for Detroit Lions fans everywhere. I get some of you are ready to move on, as we all should be ready to move on from the KC game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but more and more information is coming out in regards to what transpired Sunday night, what has happened since then. And man, oh man, the NFL is facing some backlash for this. We're going to talk about this all with the Sarge, Tony Libretto. But for those who don't know, I'm going to walk you through a few things. I've spent a lot of eons being a reporter, covered NFL games, as Sarge knows, did this, that, the other thing. When a game concludes, there is known as the pool report. The lead official for that game is allowed to talk to one reporter. The pool reporter, usually an independent person, doesn't directly work for the Associated Press, the NFL in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to bother you by reading through all of this for you guys. You can now find it out. I want to give credit to some Detroit reporters that got a hold of this. You can find it online. In a nutshell, the pool report states, when specifically asked about the Detroit Lions opening drive touchdown, when you guys all saw it, it was ruled a touchdown. About a minute and a half roughly later, all of a sudden, a flag is thrown out. The lead officials say they talked amongst themselves, did not get any assistance from New York NFL offices regarding this. Why is that important? It's not allowed. Since there was a penalty, nothing to do with the score, it's not allowed for NFL offices nor a reviewable play for the officials to do that. What has happened with that report, the lead official stepping in saying, hey, we didn't get any help. We didn't break any rules. Nothing to see here. Well, as of this morning, give a shout out to 97.1 The Ticket. We might have a little bit more to this story. Let's listen in.
You were told that, or inquiring as to what happened in that situation, why they went back a minute and a half later and threw the flag?
Yeah, we asked on all of that. We asked on all of it, and I can't tell you any of that.
But it was an official that told you it came from New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can tell clearly, Sarge, MCDC, Dan Campbell doesn't want to talk about it, but you did get confirmation. NFL offices directly contacted the officials on the field, which they can't do, per rules. They instructed the officials to take off the Detroit Lions touchdown. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, it's very disappointing. You and I were talking about it a little while ago. I'm probably the last guy in the world that thinks games are rigged or that, the NFL is scripted and all of this. But man, this there's something to this, and it's just very disappointing. It seems like it's always the Kansas City Chiefs that are getting these calls, which again, I'm always very doubtful that those are actually the true things that happen. But man, it just keeps. I'm becoming a believer that somebody somewhere wants either Kansas City to do well or Detroit not to do well. So it's very disheartening. I know it's Wednesday. The game was already 3 days ago. We got a game coming up in a few days.
Right.
But it's worth noting. It's worth talking about a little bit. It's worth exploring a little bit, because if there is some shady stuff going on, it needs to be exposed. This needs to be talked about and become a national thing, which I think it has. I think there's a lot of independent sources that are coming out and saying, hey, this isn't right. This shouldn't happen. No, there should never be a flag, whether they miss a call or don't miss a call. There should never be a flag thrown a minute and a half after the play is already over. Never. You're just wasting people's time. They could do that for every single play if they wanted to. Then, hey, did you guys see this? Let's piece this together and come up with a penalty that no one on the field saw it live. The ref's job is to call a penalty when they see one, not right. To get together with everybody else and piece parts of it together like that lead official said they did. That should never happen. That's what replays are for, which that one not a reviewable play.
Right.
So, they can't just, and I get it. If they take 5 seconds to go, hey, I think I saw this, I call it a touchdown, but you didn't. What do you think? I get
Sure.
those 5-second, 10-second conversations that they have to have sometimes, but to spend a minute and a half talking about it just means that they were getting word from somebody saying, hey, you guys should really take a look at this. So it's just kind of sickening a little bit that it came to that. I understand maybe trying to get the call right, and maybe he did get under center. It's almost subjective, but maybe he did get under center, maybe he didn't. But the fact of the matter is they didn't call it on the field. They
Right.
waited a minute and a half later to call it. Whether it was a true penalty or not, it doesn't matter at that point.
Well, I think what we can all agree is, for those just joining us here, I'll bring it up again. It's coming to light today that the NFL pool report, the lead official who talks to that reporter, does confirm they did not, in this pool report, this excerpt from it, they never got a call, he says, after the game from NFL officers telling him what to do. They did this amongst themselves. Why is that important? Because if they get the call from NFL officers, that is a violation per the NFLPA of the rules and how to implement the rules. The problem is Dan Campbell. So I guess that could be the wild card in this. Is Dan Campbell lying to all Lions fans when he goes on 91.1 the ticket and says, hey, we got a call or confirmation from NFL officers. They called the officials on the field, told them to wash off the touchdown. Like you're saying, though, Sarge, now if you apply it to that and seemingly only against Detroit, like they did the same thing with Kelvin Johnson's process the catch, amongst a jillion other times the NFL officer steps in, seems to take something away from Detroit. Do you think maybe this adds more and more credence to those who suspect Rodger, Goodell, or the NFL at large has some sort of beef with the Ford family?
Yeah, I do think so. And again, like I've said before, I try not to believe in that stuff. Like because I think every player, every game goes out and gives them their all, and as well as coaches and everyone involved in every team. But there's something going on. Maybe 50 years from now they'll figure it out, or 20 years from now or something. But I don't know if it's the Ford field or the Ford family in particular, or if it's Detroit in general, or it can't be Detroit in general. I would assume it's so somewhere along the line, maybe the Ford family did something to Rodger Goodell back in the day or something that he's holding this grudge with, and or someone in New York, it's where the headquarters is or whatever. Yeah, I hate to say it because I feel like I sound just like everybody else that's been saying it for years and years and years. But now I feel like it's just, what else can it be? What else can it be?
Well, I do want to bring up to other attention. I did put this at the bottom of the thumbnail. You guys may have seen it or not, but I want to give credit to where credit's due. This came out, I think, yesterday. Maybe it was the day before. Don't hold me to that. But how about this? It came out recently. University of Texas, El Paso, their PH department has been conducting a review. Don't ask me why. Must be something to do with something they're investing in, but they did a review of the NFL and particularly Kansas City NFL, and they concluded their PhD department that the Kansas City Chiefs received beneficial calls from a 2018 to 2024 case study that far supersedes any other team in the NFL. If that holds water, which again, this is the University of Texas, El Paso, has no correlation with any particular NFL team, let alone the NFL front offices or media agency. If they're concluding that, what would that say to you, Sarge?
I mean, again, independent study, right? It's not someone in the NFL doing this. It's not, it's not a team doing this. It's an independent study, and it just kind of blows my mind. For one, it kind of blows my mind that they did a study like this for some class at UTEP or whatever. But it's almost comical that it just seems like every year, all of us fans are like, oh, Kansas City's paying off the refs, or the front office is favoring Kansas City. But then these studies start coming out. I'm curious if there's more studies now that are going to start coming to light, or that someone starts conducting more, digs more into the situation and seeing if it's one study is one thing, but if you've got 5 or 10 studies that start pointing the same direction, and there's definitely some collusion in there.
What I almost wonder at some point, Sarge, if especially with as much as NFL pro sports are in bed with gambling sites or whatever, you know far more about that than I ever will. But does some aspiring, I don't know, political person start really doing a deep dive into this and finding out some evidence about it? For those just joining us, let me replay it one time. Hey, here you go. Here's the paper. I'm going to summarize. It says that the NFL did not contact the officials on the field. This is per the lead official for the game, Kansas City versus Detroit, admitting to reporters no contact was made from the front offices of the NFL, telling them to basically overturn the Goff receiving touchdown.
You were told that, or inquiring as to what happened in that situation, why they went back a minute and a half later and threw the flag?
Yeah, we asked on all of that. We asked on all of it, and I can't tell you any of that.
But it was an official that told you it came from New York?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, obviously it's...
So right there, that, like they're about to say, it raises a bunch of questions, just not in Detroit, but nationally. This thing is starting to get a little bit of traction. Sarge, end of the day, what do you think happens with the NFL?
At the end of the day, it's going to just be business as usual. They're not going to admit any wrongdoing, even if, or admit they made a mistake. I mean, it'd be great if they even just came out and said that, even if they're saying it wasn't, on purpose. But right. I think it's just going to be business as usual, and Detroit's just going to have to go out there and put it to Tampa Bay next week and just keep continuing doing what they're doing and keep winning games. It'd be great if someone, I don't think the government should be involved in this stuff, but if it's some kind of collusion where people are losing money gambling and things like that, maybe like you said, a politician, that someone in Congress or something says, hey, maybe we should do a deep dive in what's really going on here. I can't imagine them going, the Goff thing with him, scoring a touchdown was like, some huge odds to win. So people maybe lost thousands and thousands of dollars, but in the grand scheme of gambling, a few $100,000 isn't a lot of money to lose to them when they're winning, taking in millions every day.
Billions,
so, yeah. But maybe it was just enough. Maybe there was just enough people that bet on Goff scoring that first touchdown that they were like, hey, we're going to lose a couple $1 million if we let this fly.
Right.
Let's call New York and have them call down to the field or whatever. I hope it's not any of that. Obviously, I want the game to be pure. I mean, I gamble on it too. I'm not saying,
right.
When I say pure, I don't mean innocent, but I wish the game on the field, or, the plays on the field and the players on the field made the outcome, not some nefarious force out there. But I don't know. It seems like just more and more, I'm more and more convinced that something behind the scenes happened.
Well, you and I have known each other for 30 plus years. I've written stories on this for at least since the early 2000s. That just seems like something happened once upon a time. I don't remember any of this in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. But man, ever since 2008, when Goodell took over, it just seems like it's almost, if not every year, every 2 years or so, something like this comes up. I don't remember anything huge last year, but we all remember the Dallas Cowboy incident, the 2-point conversion. Decker reports, doesn't report according to officials. And sort of like this situation, it was ruled good on the field. Then about a minute and a half later, some reason they all got together and said, we're going to wave this thing off. Even though replays show something different. And I already mentioned the Calvin Johnson catch and the failed Mary face mask that wasn't a face mask in Ford Field with the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, Lions fans have been through a lot of this. So final thoughts on this before we get on out of here?
No, I just, obviously, like I said before, it's good to talk about this because it needs to be exposed if something's going on. And it's fun for us to, I don't know, fun maybe isn't the right word, but it's good for us to talk about it and get other people's opinions. But at the end of the day, Tampa Bay is on Monday night. and we got to figure out a way to shut down Baker Mayfield now and move on.
All right, Duke Crew, we'll get you out of here. Sarge, I want to thank you for your time. As always, I know you're on the job, so why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everybody where they can find you, support you, and any endeavors you may have coming up.
Let's see. No, I'm at work. I'm at my office at Western Michigan University. That's why the background looks different than when you normally see me, but not much going on. Still talking about doing my own channel here pretty soon. We're gonna have to get together maybe tonight while we're bowling. Don't forget it's bowling night. And let's have a good day. Maybe the sun will come out. It's raining all day.
Right. All right, Duke Crew, we'll get you out of here. Get on to your day. If there is breaking news later today, I'll get it over to you as fast as possible. Otherwise, take care. Enjoy your day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. See you on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, all.